Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I am Tina. I am a registered dental hygienist here in Minnesota. I'm a new grad. I graduated about a year ago in May of 2025, and I started practicing in July of 2025. Since then, since July, I've pretty much been a full-time temp, temping 3 to 4 days a week and using third-party apps to do so, like Tiro or Quickly, Dental Experts, and the like. But if you want to temp as a W-2 employee without the apps, you can totally do that, and I'm going to show you how in this video. A lot of hygienists think that the only way to keep W-2 status and make sure that all your ducks are in a row is to use a third-party app, but that's not really the only way. Sometimes those apps have high fees, whether it's for the offices or for you or for the offices if they want to hire you after you've temped there. Glitches, some want to classify you as a 1099 independent contractor, which I believe is not legal. More on that in a minute. But regardless of the reason why you want to go independently, you can temp as an independent and not be an independent contractor. You can absolutely maintain your own temping schedule, negotiate your own rate, and remain a protected W-2 employee without an intermediary app. And here's how you do it. So a lot of times, offices will try to classify you as a 1099 independent contractor. And I couldn't really tell you the exact reason why because I'm not an office and I'm not trying to do that. I think it may have something to do with tax implications, but from what I've learned, what I've read, what I believe, working as a 1099 independent contractor as a dental hygienist is illegal. You can probably ask 5 different hygienists and you might get 5 different viewpoints, but the way I view it and the way I think Uncle Sam views it, which is who I'm concerned about, is that it's not a 1099 position. As a dental hygienist, you do not provide your own equipment. You do not set your own hours. You work under a dentist license, so legally you are a W-2 employee. Temping off of the apps the right way protects your rights and makes sure that there's no tax implications down the line where you're paying taxes that the employer should have handled. I also think that temping off the app is a great way to do a working interview. You can also do a working interview through the apps, but for example, I know that Quickly charges, I believe it's $5,000 if an office wants to hire you after you've worked a temp shift through Quickly, unless there is a 180-day break in between your last shift with Quickly and getting hired on at that office. So there's like a $5,000 bounty on your head. I was looking for a permanent job, and that greatly affected the amount of bonuses that they were going to offer me because they had to pay Quickly $5,000. They couldn't pay me the bonus that the job was advertised as having. There are other apps that don't have fees for the office if they want to hire you after working with them, like Tiro, but Tiro charges a 12% fee for the office on top of what they're paying you. So if you're earning $60 an hour, which is a very standard, reasonable rate at the time of filming here in Minneapolis, the office is paying $67.20 per hour. And for a typical 8-hour day, they're paying over $57 to Tiro just to have you as an employee. So that right there means that you're able to negotiate a higher rate than the $60 an hour that you would have gotten through Tiro. And everything is so much smoother. You don't have to worry about an app approving your shift. You can work directly with the office to get the shift and the terms that work best for you both. And if you're looking for a permanent job, I think doing a working interview directly with the office as a W-2 employee is a really great way for you guys both to see if it's a good fit. A working interview is just as much of an interview for you as it is for them. And when you go into the office, you may realize that it's not the office for you. That recently happened to me. Before my first patient sat down, I knew that it wasn't the right fit. I've also had an experience where I didn't do a working interview, and I wish that I had because there were glaring issues with the office that I would have known if I had taken the chance to do a working interview. So doing a working interview, in my opinion, is non-negotiable. I would never, ever accept a dental hygiene job without doing a working interview, and I would not recommend you do. You and the office both learn so much about each other, and if you go to a working interview and the office decides that they don't want to proceed, you've just saved yourself the trouble of getting hired at a place, and then they decide 1 month, 2 months, 2 days down the line that it's not a good fit and you're let go from your position. Of course, a working interview doesn't mean that that will never happen, but doing that working interview really make sure that you guys are both on the same page and you guys know how each other works and if it would be a good fit. So how do you find a job that you want to work with as a W-2 employee but not using the apps? You could always use the apps, see the offices that are out there, see the shifts that are available, go to their website, email them, let them know that you're a temp and you would be happy to work for them. You send along your resume, let them know your rate and that you work as a W-2 employee. Once you get to the office, you're going to need to give them basically a packet of information that helps them onboard you as a W-2 employee. So I've created a shift summary sheet here that you can download if you're interested in temping off the apps. Top of the sheet has a place for you to put your name, your contact information, your license number. So that way the office knows at a glance how they can contact you and who you are. Further down, you're going to to want to fill in the office name and the date before you get there. I recommend filling out all the information that you can before you get there because, as you know, as a temp, when you get to an office, you don't have time to do paperwork. You're trying to get ready to do your day. So fill in the office name, fill in the date, fill in your agreed hourly rate. I personally don't put my clock in time until I get there just because you never know. You might be running late, you might be running early, and the office wants you to get started a little early. So just to be professional, not have anything crossed out, just write that clock in time on the sheet when you give the sheet to the person that you're going to be coordinating with all day, whether that be the office manager or the dentist, depending on what kind of office it is. But the most important part of this sheet is this section near the bottom where you have your onboarding enclosures. The first thing you're going to need to include is the I-9. This is the federal form that allows them to verify your ability to work in the United States. Along with your I-9, you're going to need to bring documentation to establish your identity. If you bring a document from list A, you only need one document. If you decide to bring a document from list B or C, you need two documents. Me personally, I take my passport card because it's super small, super simple, super easy to take. I also have a passport book, so were anything to happen to my passport card, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Yes, I don't want to lose my passport card, but I can do more things with my passport book than I can with my passport card. So I personally don't mind handing over my entire packet to the office manager, letting them know I'll pick up my passport card later on and letting them fill out section 2 of the I-9 at their convenience. The next item you're going to include is a direct deposit form. If you go to your bank's website, they likely have something that you can fill out and print out. Same with the I-9. In fact, most PDF forms, you can fill them out and print them out. However, you will need to make sure that when you're printing them out, they print as an image. Sometimes when you're printing out a filled out PDF form, it does not include what you've actually typed in. Of course, you're not going to be able to fill out the date. You're not going to be able to sign it. Those will be things that you write on the day of, but your name, your address, social security number, phone number, things like that, you can fill that out ahead of time and print it out. Just make sure when you go to print that item out, you are printing it as an image so everything is flattened and it prints out the way you're seeing it on the screen. But back to the direct deposit form, I personally don't prefer to get my paycheck deposited 100% into my checking account, but when I am temping directly with an office, that's what I do. Just for simplicity's sake, I don't want to tell them I want 100% in the savings because most people want their money in checking. So I want to provide as few opportunities as are possible for there to be a clerical error. Of course, people are human, people make mistakes, not a big deal. Personally, I would prefer 90% of my money to go to savings and 10% to go to my retirement account, but I'm just going to handle that on the back end. If Capital One isn't your bank and you're not able to find this exact form, just search for a direct deposit form or direct deposit information on your bank's website and see if they have a PDF that you can fill out and print as an image so you can have something professional to take to the office so that there are no delays in you getting your pay. Another note on pay, make sure you get confirmation when you give the direct deposit form to the office about when you should expect to be paid. You may want to negotiate getting paid the next day, which would probably mean that they're going to run an off-cycle payroll for you. There are sometimes fees associated with that, so that may or may not be something that you want to negotiate. If you use the apps already and you're used to getting instant pay, this might be something that you really value. I personally don't like to pay to get my money, so I never use instant pay, and I'm totally fine waiting for my money. Just make sure that you know when payday is so you can know when to expect to see your direct deposit hit your account. But the good thing about it is once that direct deposit hits your account, all the appropriate taxes have been taken out, so you will not have to worry about a 1099 at the end of the year and you having to pay taxes that the employer should have paid. The next form I recommend that you include is a federal W-4 form. Again, this is information that is needed for the office to have you onboarded as an employee in their system. Fill this out, print this as an image, sign it and date it the day of. Additionally, I live in Minnesota. We have state income tax here. There are some states in the US that don't, but the Minnesota form is very similar to the federal form. So once you've made sure that the allowances are correct, print it, sign it and date it the day of, so the office has everything they need to make sure that the taxes for your state are taken out correctly. The next thing you're going to want to include in your onboarding packet is a copy of your dental hygiene license. Now, if you are a temp in Minnesota, I hope you know that you need to be displaying your dental hygiene license when you are working. But the office may like to have a copy of your license as well. I've temped at probably, close to 50 offices, and I believe that the temp apps have a copy of my license that I've uploaded, or a photo or some sort. Most offices, the vast majority, do not ask for a copy of my license, but some offices, maybe 2 or 3 have asked to take my license and photocopy it. The next thing you'll want to include is a copy of your basic life support or CPR certificate showing that you are current, because that is something that you need to have in order to practice dental hygiene, at least in the state of Minnesota. I can't speak on any other state. If there's anything missing from this onboarding and closures list that needs to be added, go ahead and write that in. If there's anything that doesn't apply to you, you can just delete that. And if you decide to take a different document than your passport card for your I-9, you can simply edit that to show exactly what you're providing so that the office knows what they should expect to give you back once they've been able to verify your I-9. Now, the last thing that I've included in my onboarding checklist, which again, opinions may vary on if this is necessary or not, but for me, it was a $45 investment and it was well worth it. It is a malpractice insurance policy. So I've included my certificate of insurance, and it is a $1 million per claim, $6 million annual policy. So this sheet shows everything about the policy. It shows that it is a valid policy. It shows my name. It shows what exactly is covered. And the reason that I say opinions may vary on if this is needed is most people will say you're working under the dentist license, so you don't need it. But for me, $45 to purchase malpractice insurance, to be sure, is worth it. I mentioned it in another video. The last thing that I would want is to save $45 by not buying malpractice insurance, and then a malpractice suit is brought against me, and I think back to the day that I was debating and decided not to spend $45, and it would just avoid so much headache. And the last thing on the form, which is arguably the most important part, is the office verification. So at the end of the day, you're gonna wanna find whoever's responsible for verifying your hours. You're going to want to write in the time you're clocking out, the time you spent unpaid for your lunch, and you're going to want to have them sign, write their name and their title and date. Before you leave, take a photo of the paper so that you have a record of what you're leaving with the office, or you can have them photocopy it. I prefer to just take a photo. It's so much quicker and it allows them to keep everything. They keep everything except the documents that they use to verify your I-9. They keep the I-9, they keep your direct deposit info, they keep your W-4, federal and state if necessary, they keep the copy of your license, they keep the copy of your life support CPR certificate, and they keep your malpractice insurance. This also ensures that should you go back to that office, all you have to do is bring this one dental hygiene shift summary sheet, which you can download right below. It's totally free. It'll be emailed to you in a Google Doc file. You can edit the top portion, add your name, your license information, edit anything that needs to be edited on the onboarding enclosure, and then go ahead and print that out and take that to the office on your second or subsequent visit. Temping off the app like this also allows you to build direct relationships with offices. So if there's a last minute cancellation and they're not able to find anybody via the app, they have your contact information. They can contact you last minute. And if you're able to take the shift and you want to take the shift, you can at a moment's notice. I would recommend having a couple copies of everything printed out, the entire onboarding packet ready to go. So all you have to do is sign and date, and you're ready to go to any office. You don't need to necessarily have 8 to 10 copies. Just once you've given it to an office, go ahead and print out another set. So if you're interested in temping off the apps, I totally recommend it. I did it recently. It felt really great to go in prepared and know that I was protected as far as taxes went, as far as malpractice went, and I didn't have to deal with an app. It was great. If I was wanting to continue temping, what I would probably do is go on Indeed or ZipRecruiter or any of the sites that are advertising dental hygiene jobs, and I would probably send an email letting them know I'm a temp and I work independently without the app, but I work as a W-2 employee. Send along my resume and invite them to reach out to me, letting them know that I bring all the documents that I need to be a W-2 employee, including malpractice insurance. If you have any questions about temping off the apps or any of the paperwork, feel free to leave me a comment. If you want to download this shift summary sheet so that you can temp without the apps, go ahead and do that. And if you want to see what my first day as a temp was almost a year ago, go ahead and check out this video here. I'll see you there.